As Pope Francis' visit to the borderland approaches, students here at the Newman Center have gathered together to take part on this historical event. It has been one of the most historical and important days in the Catholic community as Pope Francis has entered Ciudad Juarez. Trisha, this is your first time in Las Cruces, as you mentioned. How does it feel bringing so many fans to the city?
Well, I mean, I am married to the guy. He's the entertainer of a lifetime, so it's been a joy to take this tour all over the country. And for me, I've been looking forward to this because it's personal. To do this for Mother Hubbard is like, she's legendary. And, you feel the love the minute you get off the plane. You start seeing the signs and you walk in the building and everybody's wearing these GTY t-shirts, gifts in the room, and there's a lot of love before you ever sing a note. So.
One of the most memorable pictures of Pope Francis' trip to the border was when he stepped at the frame of the U.S.-Mexico border, where he prayed for migrants and laid flowers at 3 crosses next to tennis shoes to represent immigrants who have died on their journey.
Save them from this violence.
Professor Inigo Garcia Bryce says it was monumental for the border and border politics.
He spoke very directly about migrants. That's one of the big issues that we have on the border, is the issue of migration. It's such a huge debate right now, what to do about migration. In the midst of the U.S. political debate, we have people that want to round up migrants and send them back. We're talking about building walls.
In some ways, I guess one could argue.
Bryce talked about this on a lecture on Thursday to a packed house at the Nason House on campus. While the Pope's visit had political ramification, for most, it was a spiritual moment.
To hear the Pope's Mass, it's going to be very spiritual. I mean, it has been. The whole day has been an experience.
And it's something those who attended will never forget. Tannya Barba, News 22. The feet of about 30 people crunch over the ground as they approach the lake bed. Lake Lucero is a playa, a beach without the water, contained within the White Sands National Monument and a few miles from the famous sand dunes. Anyone who's been here knows it's not silica sand that you'd find at the beach. It's gypsum sand, soft crystals that are deposited by water and wind.
It's very interesting to see. You can actually see the process of how crystals went from being really big and massive all the way down to a very small granular level as you go deeper in.
I brought some crystals to show you. You're going to see these here in a few minutes, though.
10,000 years ago, it was found in the bottom of an ancient lake. Years later, the lake dried out and left what are now gypsum crystals. There's also science here, geology that to a 7th grader opens a world of imagination.
That if you were to chip off some of the crystals, they can get really, really thin, and that if you point it at the sun, it makes a little glare, and you can make almost like a magnifying glass out of it. It's really interesting.
The gypsum crystals covered the ground, and after rains, there are frequently more crystals to see. And in the distance, you can see where they go, to add to the white sands. Tannya Barba, News 22.
No hate, no fear, refugees are welcome here. No hate, no fear, refugees are welcome.
Being a sanctuary campus means a campus will not cooperate with federal immigration officials if they come to campus and ask about a student's status without their consent. The concept started as a movement back in the 80s, and it has attracted more attention since the recent election. And that attention has now come to the city of Las Cruces, and especially to students here at NMSU. Chancellor Gary Carruthers issued a statement that NMSU will not be a sanctuary campus on December 2nd, but will not discriminate on a basis of immigration status and will not prohibit federal law enforcement from coming onto campus. He says doing so would jeopardize federal funding. Liliana Cifuentes from Aggie Solidarity says she prefers NMSU to go all the way to a sanctuary campus and ban federal immigration officers.
A sanctuary campus is important, mostly because it affects all of our students and not just a small percentage, not just the marginalized students. NMSU is based on diversity, and that diversity is important in order for future research and getting our students to finish their education and contribute to the world in a positive way in the long run.
Alejandra Lerma is an international student from Mexico. She says recent executive orders by President Trump make her feel vulnerable, but knowing that the university cares gives her comfort.
It makes me vulnerable, so it would mean a lot to me to know that an institution is behind me if anything happens.
Sociology professor Julie Rice says the issue has brought awareness to a vulnerable student population here on campus.
Definitely a lot of fear out there. Some faculty members have had, students come that are undocumented and are frightened.
And she too prefers the full sanctuary campus designation.
The fear is very real out there, which goes back to this larger issue that, and this is one of the issues that I feel very strongly about, is that we need a public statement by our administration affirming our commitment to protecting our students.
Professor Rice says the march helps bring attention. She is part of a new group called Standing With Our Students that holds listening sessions. She says the group is determined to bring peace and encouragement to students so that they know they're not alone. For News 22, I'm Tannya Barba. And the New Mexico State men's basketball team is gearing up for their first home game in over 2 weeks. Tonight on ESPN3, the Aggies will be taking on the Utah Valley Wolverines at 7 o'clock inside the Pan American Center. In the last matchup between these two teams, the Aggies would be victorious with a score of 74-69. And this Saturday night, the Aggies will cap off the week with a matchup against the Seattle Redhawks. This game will also take place inside the Pan American Center. And a moment that was meant to honor a former hockey player goes wrong. The Fort Wayne Comets returned Colin Cholick's number 91 before Saturday's game against the team that he now coaches. The honorary banner was unveiled upside down. Still, the ceremony continued, with the banner elevated upside down all the way to the rafters. It was turned right side up for pictures and fixed during the first period intermission. Estamos a tan solo minutos de que el Papa Francisco oficie la Sagrada Misa en Ciudad Juárez. Son algunos de los gritos que se escucharon por manifestantes el martes pasado. Estudiantes, maestros y la comunidad de Las Cruces se reunieron el 14 de febrero para manifestar contra las órdenes ejecutivas del presidente Trump. El grupo está de acuerdo con la idea de que una universidad se convierta en un campus santuario, lo cual significa que no colaborarán con autoridades federales al dar información del estatus migratorio de un estudiante.
El hecho de que sea un santuario sería una protección para los estudiantes porque prohibiría que las agencias federales entraran al campus a investigar el estatus de los estudiantes, si están aquí con documentos o sin documentos.
El presidente Gary Carruthers publicó una declaración el 2 de diciembre diciendo que NMSU no será un campus santuario, pero no discriminará a estudiantes dependiendo de su estatus migratorio.
La diversidad en Las Cruces y particularmente en la universidad es lo que hace la universidad. Es algo muy importante y debemos escuchar a esos miedos o preocupaciones.
Estudiantes y la comunidad de Las Cruces desean ser protegidos por sus instituciones si se llegara a esta situación. Tannya Barba, Noticias 22. Hola, ¿qué tal? Les saluda Tannya Barba con toda la acción deportiva. Y arrancamos con toda la acción de la Conferencia Nacional de Básquetbol. La semana pasada eran 4, el lunes quedaban 2 y ahora finalmente podemos llamar a alguien campeones. En un torneo lleno de emociones de alegría y derrota, un equipo fue llamado campeón. El lunes pasado marcó la conclusión del Torneo Nacional de Básquetbol con el juego final entre Carolina del Norte y Gonzaga, lo cual finalizó con el marcador final de 71-65. En esta presentación sería la segunda para los Tar Heels de Carolina del Norte en una final, pero la primera para Gonzaga. Y en el diamante, los Aggies se enfrentaron en contra del equipo número 6 en el país, los Red Raiders de Texas Tech, este pasado martes en Presley Askew Field. El derecho Chris Kuko fue el titular lanzador para los Aggies y Caleb Killian para Texas Tech. Los Red Raiders no perdieron tiempo, acertándose como los favoritos del partido, anotando 6 carreras en solo la primera entrada. Tratando de no quedarse atrás, los Aggies respondieron con una carrera de Joey Ortiz gracias a un triple hit al campo izquierdo de Dan Hetzel. Los Red Raiders anotaron 2 más en la tercera y 4 más en la quinta y la sexta para extender su ventaja 12-2. Sin darse por vencidos, los Aggies siguieron luchando, anotando 2 carreras más en la octava entrada. Pero Texas Tech fue demasiado para NMSU, ganando el partido 15-4. Los Aggies juegan en contra de UT Rio Grande Valley hoy a las 6 de la tarde.